What if the greatest journey you'll ever take doesn't require a passport? Sometimes we are led to travel somewhere new or to places we've forgotten, but all our journeys begin with a decision to take the trip. Some destinations can never be reached by earthly means. A Beyond Quantum Healing session offers another kind of exploration where old memories reveal new meaning. Past lives, inner wisdom, and a connection or reconnection to the soul can often be found. Perhaps the greatest discovery isn't another place, but a deeper understanding of who you are and your place within this extraordinary existence. Join us as we explore Beyond Quantum Healing with Holistic Soul Space BQH facilitator Francis in part 1 of BQH before the session. All right. Francis,
Hi.
Francis,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about what exactly is BQH? What does it stand for? And just so people who maybe have never heard of it before, what exactly is it?
So BQH stands for Beyond Quantum Healing. It's a modality, it's a quantum healing hypnosis modality. It was designed by Candice Craw-Goldman, who was a student and assistant of Dolores Cannon, who was the pioneer of the quantum healing hypnosis technique. So after Dolores passed, Candice took what she had learned from the QHHT and designed her own course on called Beyond Quantum Healing. So it takes what Dolores had already done and set up, which works beautifully, but it allows different things to be added. For example, during a session, a higher self might ask me to do some Reiki on a on a client. So, and it gives me the space to be able to do that. The biggest difference for me is that BQH can be done online over Zoom. So, where QHHT cannot, it's a face to face.
Thank you. Thank you, Francis. That's really helpful. I think a lot of people have been curious about what the difference between Beyond Quantum Healing is and QHHT, but it is really interesting for me that it started out really with the teachings of Dolores Cannon, even though it was developed by one of her students. So, if somebody's thinking about doing a BQH session, how would they prepare for that? Like, what should somebody expect before their first session?
So the first thing that I do is I have a conversation with them. So I organise to do a discovery call, which I normally say lasts 20 to 30 minutes approximately. However, some people can be chatty and it can be longer. But that in that first instance, it's we get to know each other a little. I get to find out what they hope to gain from the session, and it gives me the chance to be able to tell them what to expect without having any expectations. But I can talk through the process of what they can expect. In terms of that, it's when it comes to the higher self, there's no guarantees. So that's the first thing, and I always leave at least a week between that conversation and the actual session, because it gives the person a chance to come up with an intention and questions for the session, any questions that they might want to ask their higher self. But in that week, if they're paying attention, they'll notice synchronicities happening. And that can be, it might be dreams, it could be in their day to day life, but there will always be something. They might just have an idea put in their head. Oh, I need to be asking this. So that week for me is really important, to let things ripen.
Because it's true. You don't always know what to ask, at least not right up front. I know even from my own experience, I mean, I had a little trepidation because, and I imagine this might be something other people would experience. So I'll get your take on it. I've always been really nervous about being hypnotized or even going under for, say, having my wisdom teeth taken out. I'm just like, what could I possibly say when I'm in that state? So, how do you put people at ease when you describe to them what a session is like?
Well, I think hypnosis gets a bit of a bad name from the show Hypnosis. There it appears that the person has lost all control of their faculties, have got no no control left, and that couldn't be further from the truth. You remain 100% in control at all times. When Dolores first started this, humanity was in a different place. So over the last 15 years, humanity has really evolved as the Earth is making her ascension. Humanity is ascending with her. And back in the day, when people were hypnotised and put into this somnambulistic state, they had no memory of what happened. The only thing that they had was the recording at the end of it to prove that they did actually have an experience. But nowadays, most people, if not all people, are consciously aware of what's happening as it's happening. They might not remember everything when they come back out, but as it's happening, they're completely aware of what it is that is happening. So there's no need to fear losing control, or that I can somehow get into their head in a way that people normally wouldn't, and that's couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah, I like that because I think it puts people's mind at ease, right? That you are still somewhat aware of what's happening. And quite honestly, this is a protected session. It's not like, this is that you have to worry that you would say something unusual. But I have found just in my own experience that it was such an elevated space that we were in that things that I might worry on the day to day, that wasn't even close to what we would be talking about. So, I mean, I really was okay with after I listened to the session, I'm like, what was I worried about? This was so easy and so beautiful because, like I said, it was such an elevated session. I love that you talked about how there'll be synchronicities and things that will prepare you prior to the session because I had even contacted you and I'm like, Francis, I'm having some wild dreams. So I feel like we're getting ready for this because it certainly did feel like everything was starting to come forward, things that I wanted to talk about, and maybe even things that I hadn't told you that I wanted to talk about, but it was almost like my mind was getting ready, or my higher self was getting me ready to maybe ask the questions I didn't even know I really wanted to ask. So, well, we talked a little bit about how you can feel this starting to happen. How can a client best prepare themselves emotionally, mentally, energetically before the session?
The main preparation is really that they need to just be open and allow it to happen. On the day, I like to try to have the session sort of mid morning, sort of time for the client. Obviously, that if it's somebody in the States, then it's the afternoon for me. But it's important what's important is the client's time. So why mid morning? Because that's the time when you're mentally most alert, which is important. So we want you mentally alert, and you're probably less likely to fall asleep during the hypnosis. Although I have had, hilariously, I have had people who do fall asleep and answer me between snores, and it's really funny, but it does happen. So the main thing is about having the mental alertness and clarity. So if people can try and sort of leave their worries and everything at the doorstep, in the morning, they can always be there and picked up later. So I also need your body to be in a relaxed state. So mentally alert, but your body in a relaxed state. So some gentle exercise beforehand is ideal as well. You can go for a walk. Try and get a good sleep the night before.
Yeah, that makes sense. Not a lot of caffeine, I imagine, before the session.
Well, I do ask that people limit caffeine, but if it's something, I mean, if you're used to having a lot of caffeine and I ask you to stop taking it, then you're going to have a really sore head. So we don't want that to happen. So it's just a case of limiting it so that you're not completely wired on the day.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. That makes sense. I did have some concerns. I thought I might snore because I've certainly done that before when I'm getting a massage. I'm like, well, that could happen. But you were so good about it. It's like it'll be fine.
It absolutely is. During the session, it's me and you, So and what happens in the session stays in the session. I don't talk about it to anybody else, and it's up to you whether you want to talk about it with other people. That's entirely up to you. But as far as I'm concerned, your privacy is absolutely paramount. And there's absolutely no judgment from me either. I have more or less seen it all, heard it all. There's nothing. I'm not easily shocked. Put it that way. So you don't have to worry about what you might say or anything like that.
What happens in a session stays in a session.
Yeah.
But again, as I said before, the space that you create is so elevated. That's really not a concern. I don't would imagine based on just what I experienced myself. So if I can make anybody feel a little bit better, that would be what I would say from my own experience. Before the session, you have the client prepare questions, right? Like a list of questions that you might have for your higher self. And I love that because it gives you a time to really kind of go in a little bit and go, well, what is it I really want to know? Like, this is my opportunity. What do I really want to know? And that kind of narrows it down. At least it did for me. Although we ended up covering things that I didn't know that I probably did need to know, and my higher self was like, we're going to jump in and talk about some of these things. So that was actually quite healing and a beautiful experience. But let me ask, what makes a good BQH question, right? If somebody's in there preparing and trying to get ready and want to submit something that's going to be the best benefit for them, what type of questions tend to produce the most, I guess, meaningful answers?
Really, this how is one of those how long is a piece of string type of thing. As long as the question belongs to the person and hasn't been found through an internet search, for example, then the reply is going to be meaningful to them. But as you say, it does make you think, what do I really want to know here? Because obviously the time is limited. So, I mean, you might have questions about things that happened in the past that you still don't have a full understanding of. Possibly a question that comes up commonly is recurring dreams. What actually was the message behind that? It could be questions about life in general. It could be about relationships. It could be questions about your purpose. It depends on really what the person wants to know. I love when somebody asks questions about sort of wider life in the universe. So and spiritual matters and things like that. I love when people ask questions like that. I call them the sort of far out there questions, because most people that's how they would see them. But I love that. whenever I am being the client in a session, we practice with colleagues, it's those type of questions that I ask.